I'm going to have some stories told that helps us see how that safety, the impact of safety, and how it helps and how it doesn't help and all that. So we're going to have stories attached to this so that it kind of brings it home more. And otherwise, I'm just burying you with information. You're going to walk out of here with just too much, right? Then I'm not helping you. So I think you guys got enough to help kind of shift your thinking a little bit. And just note that in this next part, I have cards sitting here. If you want to talk, we do one-on-one counseling, we do groups, we do conferences, men's conferences. We're going to do women's conferences next year. We do co-ed groups and conferences as well. So the idea that you're getting this information and going, oh my gosh, I want more. Well, I would say come to one of our conferences, because everything you're seeing here is you dig in deep and you work. So, yeah, I don't know about the dignity of that fly.
What's the name of your
It was about to die.
It's a
Bee.
bumblebee.
Oh well.
It's not a bumblebee. It's a bee.
All right. So, well, you'll get an opportunity to dig in and learn more in a practical way and how it applies to your life and work it into your life. And that's where we talk about grabbing the tennis racket. And it's not moving just information, you're actually learning how to apply. So that's the piece that's important. I can encourage you strong enough to come if you're just leading to learn for yourself, so you have the tools, so that you know what you're taking people through, because it doesn't do any good to lead people through a desert that you've not been through, right? So the idea of, if that's good for you, let us know and we'll help you think through that. And I'm working with Derek to try to get a group going that does the same thing here as we're doing up there and what you're experiencing. And so that will require Brittany and him and others to work together, and out with me coming to help make that stuff happen. And then you can start seeing groups here happen, but doing what we're talking about today. So, okay, so let's just go ahead and go with this for a moment, and then I'm feeling like I want to lead it just a little different, but I'll hold on it for a moment, and if I still feel confirmation, I'll dig into it. So, hang in there. Why is listening so important? And when we're looking at that, we're providing a place for people to be known, and I cannot say that enough. Your number one goal is to help people be known. If you can get that in your head, it'll make all the difference in the world, and you're helping. Trust me, you don't have to fix it. When you're looking at roles and boundaries, you have to decide what is your role and boundary. You cannot be the counselor, the group leader, the elder, the support person, and the healer, and you hear where I'm going? You cannot be all in all. You have to decide where you begin and where you end. What is your role in that life you're working with? And it's really important to decide that, because otherwise you're all over the doggone place. So, so the point of it is that realizing that for most leadership, which we'll get into next time I come, will be the leadership piece. Most leadership is really centered around facilitating a place for people to get known. If that's all you provide, you're actually providing the best possible way for them to get healed, to actually see change. So be thinking, how do I help people get known? And how do I help them be understood? Part of that being the deepest needs are to be known, to be understood, to be accepted, to be respected, to be heard, and that word intimacy again. Intimacy. The power of intimacy cannot be understated. Because actually what happens with the culture that we're in is they say sex and intimacy are the same thing. No, they're not. And because I can have sex with someone and not know them. What is intimacy? Intimacy. So they're having a relationship with a piece of paper or a video clip or a computer-generated image isn't going to do it. Why? Because there's no connection. It's just a piece of paper. It's just a video clip. Paying for sex. That person can do everything I ask them to do, and there may be some kind of sexual release, but there is still emptiness. Why? Because there's nothing I know about that person and they don't know me. They're not going to be there in my pain. They're not going to be there in my struggles. They don't know my deepest fears. They don't know how to walk alongside. They're not going to nurture, nor am I going to be in theirs. It's as empty be because intimacy is the need. Sex is not intimacy. They're completely different experiences. Sex is meant to be the byproduct, the celebration of connection. So when two people are fully connected, which means, oh my gosh, you know me, and you accept my fears, my struggles, my weaknesses, you know me, and I know you, and the two people go, wow, they know me. There is power in that. There's something to celebrate. And so celebration, many times in a married couple relationship, is the sex is the representation of celebration. When there is nothing to celebrate, sex is dead. And so when people come in for help, we're thinking, okay, how do I help them learn more different positions, and it's spicy, doing this, doing that, try a different time of day, and we think that's going to help someone. And the reality is, no, it's not. Where the help is helping them reconnect. It's helping them build the bridge back to connection. So when there's no connection, there's no celebration. So I don't know why I went that path, but the idea is that celebration is the key to life. And so when we look at if we're having trouble within a sexual framework or with even relationships alone, is that relationship worth celebrating? Have you invested there? Have you built connection pieces, or is it broken? So the bigger piece for me is when someone comes in with all that broken, all that like sexual struggles, whatever, I'm saying, how's your relationship? They're going, wait a minute, I'm talking about sex. No, that's not the issue. Put that aside. That's just a side issue. The real issue is, how's your relationship? And every time it's going to be, they're trying to replace the lack of connection through the sexual experience. So, providing the deepest needs, this is the goal, I would say, for you as a leader, is how do you provide peace? What atmosphere do you bring so that that is there? And if you do that, you don't have to worry about the other things. Because it's not what you're stopping, it's what you're becoming that makes the difference. What I'm becoming, when I'm beginning to align myself to my identity, I become so alive, it gives me the energy to fight the negative. Without that, I don't know how to fight the negative because that's all I think I have is nothing. So I go into the nothing because that's what I think about myself. When I feed myself and I grow myself, who I really am, that brings the beauty in my world that makes me want to fight the ugly. And the very fact that people are sitting there saying, I hate this, is saying there's something better inside saying this isn't wrong. The better inside, the dignity inside saying, I don't like this. The dignity inside saying, I don't want this. They don't know that that's the reason why they're sitting there. Because if they weren't sitting there and they were all bad, they wouldn't be sitting there. They wouldn't be coming, right? The dignity is there. So it's as I provide that place for all that to be forced, it actually provides a good environment. Unhealthy responses are by saying too much. Ever had that happen?
Oh, yeah.
They talk forever. They lose the whole moment, or they say nothing. I don't know how. That's the most shaming thing I've ever experienced, because again, that goes into my abandonment and my rejection. Because I just poured my heart out, and you sit there like a lump on a log and say nothing. It's like, hello, am I a hamburger or what? So the idea of being able to actually, even if you have no idea what to say, even if you don't have that experience, that you don't have any really thing worth offering, you can simply say, that took a lot for you to share. Thank you for sharing. You can at least say, that really took courage. Thank you. You can at least affirm that they did something valuable. You don't have to have answers. Get that out of your head. Answers are not what they're looking for. They're looking for connection. And this is probably the biggest mistake that most people make in their responding, is they draw attention to their own story. In other words, they rob the other person of their story. So it starts out with somebody sits down and they say, my dad my dad was a preacher, and he was so busy that he never had time for me. Oh yeah, well my dad was just the same. And then he tells his entire story. He just hijacked my story.
Right.
He made it all about him. And we do that a lot in the name of connecting. We think we're connecting, but we're not. There is a time and place for you. If it connects to your story, hallelujah.
Yeah.
But wait, let them get their story out.
Yes.
Let them finish their issues. Then you bring your story in. But you don't bring your story in the middle of theirs because you just hijacked it. And that happens 95% of the time, is that we think we're connecting by taking their story. And we don't mean to. We're doing it out of help. We're trying to help. But in the name of helping, we actually are hurting because we just shut them down. If someone's just told me their story for the first time ever, I've had people that are 65, 75, 80, that have never told their story, and for the first time they're breaking their story, and me robbing them of that, yeah, I want to be the facilitator to help break that story, not steal it.
Yes.
So, that chili is hitting me, excuse me. Tell them how much, or how they should feel, or how they should not feel. You know, your dad died 5 years ago. You shouldn't be feeling it. Right? You can't do that. You're not in their story. You don't walk in their shoes. How dare you?
Yeah, it's okay, it's fine. I will pray for you.
I'll go like that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love that.
Or tell them to stop crying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, that tears might be the first time they've ever shed a tear, and you want to shut it down. Yeah. That's the main reason why people want you to stop, is because you're stirring their stuff and they don't want to feel that. So please, would you please shut up so I don't feel? So that's what we're trying to do. So the idea of that, and then don't give advice. The only time you ever offer advice is if they ask for it. And you know that when they start telling you their story, they're not asking for advice. They're just telling you their story.
Right.
So unless they say, what do you think? You keep your mouth shut and just listen. Because they can go see a counselor. If you're not a counselor, you keep your mouth shut. Because I don't go to my best friend for brain surgery. He cares, and he would want to do the best job possible, but he ain't going to do it because he's not skilled. Why would I want to be given advice? If I'm not trained to do it, I should keep my mouth shut and just be a friend. And be one that just actually come alongside of him. And you can honestly say without any shame, boy, that's really hard, and I love you. And I strongly advise that you to see a couple people I can recommend it to. Or there's a really good group that you could go. That question should go to them. I'll be glad to support you as you walk through it, but I'm not going to go past where my expertise is. Know where your life stops and ends in your ministry. You don't step into boundaries that you're not skilled at. Because you have a life in your hands.
Yes.
So, everybody knows Shrek, right? Story? Okay, here we go.
And that one, that's Throwback, the only ogre to ever spit over 3 wheat fields.
Right. Yeah. Hey, can you tell my future from these stars?
Well, the stars don't tell the future, Donkey. They tell stories. Look, there's Bloodnut, the flatulent. You can guess what he's famous for.
All right, now I know you're making this up.
No, look, there he is, and there's the group of hunters running away from his stench.
Man, it ain't nothing but a bunch of little dice.
You know, Donkey, sometimes things are more than they appear. Forget it.
Hey, Shrek, what we gonna do when we get out of the swamp anyway?
Our swamp?
You know, when we're through rescuing the princess and all that stuff.
We? Donkey, there's no we, there's no our. There's just me and my swamp. And the first thing I'm gonna do is build a 10-foot wall around my land.
You cut me deep, Shrek. You cut me real deep just now. You know what I think? I think this whole wall thing is just a way to keep somebody out.
No. Do you think?
Are you hiding something?
Never mind, Donkey.
Oh, this is another one of those onion things, isn't it?
No, this is one of those drop it and leave it alone things.
Why don't you want to talk about it?
Why do you want to talk about it?
Why you what?
I'm not blocking.
Oh, yes, you are.
Donkey, I'm warning you.
Who are you trying to keep out? Just tell me that, Shrek. Who?
Everyone, okay?
Oh, now we getting somewhere. Hey, what's your problem, Shrek? What you got against the whole world anyway, huh?
Look, I'm not the one with the problem, okay? It's the world that seems to have a problem with me. People take one look at me and go, ah, help, run! A big, stupid, ugly ogre. They judge me before they even know me. That's why I'm better off alone.
You know what? When we met, I didn't think you was just a big, stupid, ugly ogre.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so what did we see in that clip? We saw some really wrong things, right, in some ways. But actually, what was the thing that the donkey responded to that actually hit home? What was the donkey's number one line, or what was Shrek's number one line? He was a big, ugly, stupid ogre. And what did the donkey do? He went right to that shame message. And he said, I don't see one big, stupid, ugly ogre. So the idea of being able to respond to the shame message, and this is really big, because this is where I want to end this, because I got a ton more, and I'm not going to go there. But I want to kind of get to where we get in trouble is when shame is kicking up. And we know shame is kicking up because they hear the I am statement. Right? What was he doing? He was saying, I'm nothing but dirty, broken, damaged. Here's the damaged stuff. He's bringing shame to the surface. And all that anger he was throwing out, and all that pushback he was putting, and all the walls he was trying to shut out, everything out, was all about what? Shame. He's trying to protect that I am statement. And the donkey simply responds to the I am statement, by simply saying, I don't see you as that. And he sits down and he said, I never did see you like that. And he sits down and he engages with the person, even if he's in the shame. He didn't go back and attack or try to advise, he just simply said it. Now I know this is just a movie, and it's not real, but in terms of how we engage people, we want to learn how to do shame reduction. This is the greatest challenge in leading and working with people, is how do you confront shame? Because when shame is kicking, anger's there. And we've all seen it, where someone just absolutely wants to punch you, right? They just do not want to hear you. And quite frankly, if you push in, you're going to get hit, one way or the other. Whether it's physical, which I've had almost happen several times, when I've been overseer of groups, and I've developed groups and group leaders, and we get into these situations where I was the conflict resolution person, so they bring me in the group when there was problems. And they bring me into situations where it's already blown up, and I don't have any clue of what happened or how it happened, and I got to enter into this whole environment where everybody's ready to literally punch each other. And how do you engage them? Well, the key in it is I don't want to try to address the behavior, because the behavior is bringing shame right now. And the behavior is bringing shame because there's shame messages wrapped around that behavior. So I'm not going to go after the behavior. I'm not going to go after and say, don't you know that was really stupid that you just did. I'm not going to go there, because all I'm doing is reinforcing the behavior, or reinforcing the shame. So if someone is attaching their behavior to our identity, that's shame. So shame, basically, in a real quick shot, shame is when I say, I am the behavior.
Yeah.
So it's not only that I do something wrong, I am wrong. Not only did I do something stupid, I am stupid. Not only did I do something dirty, I am dirty. And so when they are in shame, they're already attached to the identity of that what's attached. So if I speak to that behavior, I'm just fueling the fire of shame. But how do you speak truth? Because the truth is, they're not showing up so nice. So how do I speak to that and not kick up more shame? So the key in it is, going back to the original things we talked about, is going for the dignity first. Going to what you see first. And so what I'm looking for, if I don't know, come on in, that's a problem. is that if I don't know this person that I'm engaged with as a leader, and I don't know their story yet, and yet it's kicking, what I'm gonna wanna do in my confrontation piece, where they're confronting and working through it, I'm gonna ask them to unpack stories to like, what happened? And then what this has done, why are you stirred? And in there, I'm looking for the dignity piece, I'm looking for the value piece. What is it that they care about? Because whatever they care about got bumped. So I'm gonna highlight the dignity. And so that could be simply like, maybe in talking, they might say how much it matters that all their life they've been rejected and pushed away. And I can simply say to them, I really hear that you've been hurt, and that really grieves me. And the fact that you're willing to stand up for yourself. Now, there's not much dignity here at this moment, but that's all I'm seeing. The fact that you're willing to stand up for yourself and not let that happen again is big, and I'm proud of you for that. But what is hard for me is, as I'm saying, the dignity that I'm seeing to step up for yourself is confusing me, because the way you're coming across is just like the people that you didn't like doing to you. And it makes them step back. What did I do? I highlighted enough of the dignity to be able to speak to what I'm seeing. Now I'm hoping that I could have more to hang on to than just that. Maybe I know their story more. And so I might say, I know if I'm watching a father who's abusing his children, or he's hurting them with his words, I know that you love your kids. And you've said how much you care about them, and how you've worked on yourself to work to be their father and be in good relationship. But it hurts to see that you're violating the very thing that you say you care about, which is that you're hurting your kids. So I think this is the bigger issue for you is that you're violating something that really matters to you. So how can we take what matters to you, that you love your kids, and how can we do this differently? It's going after the dignity first. And then you can speak to the behavior. So learning how to hear what is valuable in them, and don't blow smoke. Because they'll know they'll see that from a mile away. You can't just say something nice. You actually have to see it. And if you don't know, then you're going to spend more time unpacking the story, allowing them to talk more, so I can get something to look at. But shame reduction is basically saying I'm going to remove chairs rather than add chairs to your life. So if I said to you, here, pick up this chair right here, and this is the only chair you can carry. Then if I give you another one, what's that going to feel like? You can't carry anymore, but I'm giving you another one. Feel like a failure, and you might get mad at me, right? Because I'm not hearing you. You said I can't carry one more chair, and I'm giving you one. So what are you going to do? You're going to swing at me. You're going to tell me something with your words or something. You're going to tell me. You're going to kick me in the shin, or you're going to throw me in the chair. Exactly. Why? Because that chair, one more chair, I can't handle one more chair. If I'm carrying shame, and someone says to you, you're doing this, I'm handing them one more chair. And they're going to come back with more shame. I'm adding shame in their mind.
It is in their mind.
In their mind. It's not true, but it's because it's what they think. So if I'm adding one more chair, of course they're going to hit me.
You ruin a relationship, you ruin trust, and it's all, where you go, like it's really hard to get that back.
And so being somehow in saying, I see you, I see the person that you are, that you really want to remove that chair. So let me help you deal with this chair. And then once we've moved it, now can we talk about the other chair sitting there? No, see this off? No. Oh boy. Sorry? No, it's good. Because that might be true. They may not want to do another chair.
What I would expect, you say, no.
But the shame overload, it's the same thing. When they can't handle one more thing that says they're a mess. They can't handle one more thing that says they don't measure up. They can't handle one more thing that says they don't matter. Or they're a failure. I'm not going to add to that. I got to help reduce that first before I can ever talk about what other things they got to face. So it's not that you don't talk about that chair, it's just when you talk about that chair.
Mm-hmm.
So another way of saying it, and you probably heard people talk about it, is doing the sandwich approach. And the Salmach approach is to make sure you're affirming the dignity and the value of the person that you're with in the encounter or in that group. The things that you've seen, you do that first. And it could be something, I've seen you struggle to be a good mom. I've seen you struggle to be a good wife. I know you've prayed and you care deeply. And that's the hard part, is that I see you struggling so hard and this is not working. And so the idea is that I'm going to affirm, step into, but here's the depravity piece, here's the broken piece. And that is violating what I see the beauty in you, and I know you want better. I know you do, and I believe in you, and I know you want more, and I want to help you with that. And on the other side is this, boy, the dream that you have, and what God has for you, and where you're going. So I'm sandwiching it with and I'm not being fake with this, because if you do, again, it's not going to work. You have to really dig in and look at what do you really see. But you don't want to just be all negative and all confrontational and with all the negative. And so this is the last verse I'm using and wrapping this piece up before we shift. And it says that the whole idea is that we're supposed to confront, speak truth in love, right? So whenever we use that word in love, we're always thinking confrontation with negative. Right? It's where you're falling short. I see you falling short, so I'm going to tell you. Because it's my job to tell you what is true. But actually that's missing a really important truth. Because it's only half truth. If you're going to confront with truth, you better be telling them both. Dignity and depravity. Or you're not speaking truth. Awful quiet. Because if you're only coming from the place of saying, I want you to grow, and I'm picking apart the bad, maybe you're focusing there because there's something more in you to look at. But if I can actually have the ability to balance it, so I'm looking at both. I'm saying, this is true about you. You got some really good traits going on here, dude. You're really good. I've watched the way you father your kids, and I see that, but I also see that you're struggling here. I can do that, and it's honest, it's not blowing smoke, it's real. But I'm also saying, here's this other thing. So when God says we have the old man and we have the new man, they're both there. They're real. Neither one of them are dead. I wish my old man was dead, but he pops up. And when he pops up, it doesn't look so pretty. So the reality is that there's duality in me. I have good and bad in me. There isn't an all brush. There isn't all good or all bad or perfect or a mess. There's not any such animal. That's shame in and of itself. There has to be the ability to put both there at the same time. That's truth speaking. So when I confront with truth, it's got to have both sitting there. And it's where parents mess up the most. As they speak to their kid with all their failures. No wonder the kid doesn't want to talk to you no more. Because all you're doing is telling him where he's failing. You've got to be able to speak to both when you talk. Being able to encourage the beauty that's there and also at the same time talk to what's missing. That's how God treats us. So the idea of how do we do shame reduction? You always look for the dignity first. You always look for the beauty. You look for that first. It helps you big time. And it helps them. Any other questions before I shift this? Okay. So we're going to start all over, and then we're just going to have a few of you teach what we just did. I know you can do it! Oh, all right. So my goal is now to have a couple stories come out that kind of just reinforce just everything we kind of said this morning. And so what I'm going to do is I'll let Paxton, you feel comfortable? We'll go with you, and then I'll let Brittany come next. And yes.
Are we going to demonstrate responding? Should we do that?
Well, I'm just looking at the time.
Okay. I just.
You can probably tell part of the story that might have been helpful for the response piece, maybe. I don't know.
I'm not.
Okay. I'll come back to that one. I just looking at time and I'm realizing